and right now I'm inside with my fancy hat on, but I have been outside working this morning. Hoping to work outside before it gets too scorching hot. Right now it's already 92 and it's about 10:30 in the morning. I've been outside already for a little while and I did some cleaning of the duck pond. That's never a nice experience. I'll show you a few pictures of the before and after. At least that's satisfying. It looks a lot better and it definitely is a lot cleaner for the ducks and the geese to swim in. Got Clark here playing with his baby. Anyway, now I'm trying to think about what my next steps are outside. Probably is going to be garden work. I'm trying to get things ready in the garden for the fall. So right now it's so incredibly hot. That's literally the only thing I can say all the time at this point to my husband is literally I just continue to remark about the heat outdoors. I think that's just a point you get to in life, isn't it? Where you just continually talk about the weather and how bad it is or good it is or things like that. Okay, anyway, moving on. Now I'm gonna do some garden work and I'm trying to get the garden ready for the fall. Let's head outside and go ahead and get started on that because this is something that is a process. Right now it's not ready for anything to be planted in it because it is so hot, but I can get the weeds out, get the plants out that I don't want, that aren't going to produce anything because some things are just too dry, too dead to do anything. So let's go out there and I'll go ahead and show you some of that stuff. First, let's have an update on the seedlings here. And these have been in these pots for a couple of weeks now. I had to replant once because so little germinated. And I'm not sure if they're gonna make it at this point either. But a few things have come up. A few things I might move indoors into the guest house window for a little while. Well, these cabbage are finally germinating. We'll see if they're gonna make it. It's just a matter of keeping everything super, super watered and hydrated at this point. And it's difficult. It's really difficult. Now this is a goal of mine today. This is some cucumber and some more zucchini. Don't eat that. Clark wants to eat them. Cucumber and zucchini, and I want to get these planted out today. So the zucchini I'm gonna put in some fabric pots and move those far, far away from the garden, and hopefully I can get some zucchini this season. But the cucumbers can go into the garden at this point. I just want to get a little bit of amendment into the soil where those are gonna go before I actually plant those out. Well, let me just show you the current state of things here in the garden. I've got the sprinkler running. I've had it running for about half an hour this morning, and luckily in the mornings the garden is shaded. So it's not too terrible to work out here in the mornings right now. Clark is watching that sprinkler. I just wanted to get everything nice and watered before I started to get to work out here because y'all, it's dry as a bone everywhere. You getting wet, Clark? And what's left in the garden is over here. Okay, I'm getting wet. Over here, this is some corn that's coming out today. We will pull that up. That's not gonna do anything. It got too dry too many times, basically. This is pink eye purple hull peas. They're actually growing really well, but the pests on them are immense. There are so many gnats on those beans. The second that they become beans, they get gnats. Go ahead. Goes Clark. He's like, no, it's raining in here. Thank you, ma'am. I think I better just turn the sprinkler off because any way I go, it's spraying on me. Okay, now we can see a little bit better. This is the strawberry bed. It really is, it's struggling. Now, we wouldn't expect anything to be growing like this. These strawberries are June-bearing strawberries. So you saw me in another video. I told you I cut those back. And then we mulched them and I planted in some runners. Looks like none of those runners have actually taken. It was not a good time to plant them, as it turns out. I should have just waited and put them in some water or something like that. So the strawberry bed is just kind of looking pitiful right now, and that's why I'm trying to deeply water it a couple of times a week just to keep these where they're going to actually come back again next year. So they just don't look wonderful right this second. Okay, anyway, over here, as I said, is corn. This is the corn here from the other side, and it looks pretty pitiful. So that's gonna come out today. This is a pepper plant here. Mostly what is going to stay are pepper plants. Okay, so I want to show you these pink eye purple hull peas though, and exactly what's going on with them. They're dry as a bone. These are just ones that I've left. I'm gonna pick these off and save the seed inside. But let me see if I can find one that is covered with those gnats. There's ants in there. Here we go. Like this right here. This is ants on there, and then there's also the little gnats that are basically sucking the life out of these. This is just the blossom for the peas. You can see they are all over on the underside of the leaves there. They're all over on the underside of the leaves. So I think these probably really are just going to come out at this point. They're not making much for me. I'd rather be able to get ready the soil for some other things. So I think I'm just gonna pull them up too. Over here we have a few bell pepper plants that are still looking pretty good and making bell peppers pretty well. This is some grape leaves that are kind of intertwined here, but they have a lot of blossoms on them and they're still making pretty okay bell peppers. They're small because they're kind of late season, but they're okay. So they're still pretty healthy plants though. And what we've done here is put down a bunch of cardboard because we had just grass growing everywhere in here. So the cardboard is just to smother out any grass. You don't want it to have any light. So I'm hoping that this is going to work for us. I may need to stake it down just a little bit more. This blackberry here, that's what this is. And then the grapevine as well. We had to cut all that down to the base last year at the end of the season because this whole trellis snapped off in a windstorm, like a straight line wind thunderstorm. The whole trellis snapped off and we've had to completely rework it. So in order to do that and in order to set the post that that trellis is now on, we had to take it down and everything that was intertwined onto it because that was quite the project. Now here I do have a jalapeno pepper, and then this is some kind of pepper here too. I think this is one that was called crushed red pepper, and it never really did anything because it was hidden by cucumbers. But now it's starting to look pretty healthy and happy, and it's got lots of blossoms on it, so maybe it'll make something. Okay, so on to the compost, and this is what I've been working on just for a few days here. There's a big mess here. Hopefully I have some video I can show you of what the compost pile looked like before this is under control at this point, if you can believe that. But before, it was basically a mass of sweet potato vine and stuff. Started, and I've already sifted 1 wheelbarrow load of compost out of here. Basically I'm just digging into the bottom and sifting up that portion, and there's tons of worms and all kinds of things in there that are, you know, making great compost. And remember, we planted those sweet potatoes a little while ago. That's probably been about 3 weeks, and they're looking pretty good over here. I'm trying to keep them really watered in. The last couple of things to see in here is a turkey who is broody, and she is sitting on 4 eggs over there. That's Jill. She's already hatched a few eggs for us this year. She had some turkey poults who are starting to grow up, and now she's wanting to hatch some more. This is the fig tree. It's looking good. You can see it's really loaded with figs.
All right, friends, on this day, I really need to be working a lot faster than I am in the garden because the heat of the day is coming for me. And the heat of the day for the last couple of weeks has been 100 degrees or more here in Louisiana. It has been miserable. So you see, I'm pulling up this corn at this point, and all of the corn is going to come out of the garden. I planted this corn a little bit later in the season, in mid-June, I believe. So I ended up having to reseed it more than once because something dug it up and ate it, you know, that type of thing. And then finally, by the time it did start to grow pretty well, it just got so dry that it really stunted this corn.
All of this is corn too, and you see it's just too dry to do anything. And all these corn that I'm pulling out, I'm gonna put over for the chickens. I'll just put them over into the chicken run, and they will pick at them and pick at the soil at the bottom of them. They'll like having this. This was a sunflower. Something took the entire head off of the sunflower, so it's gonna come out now too. I was looking at it this morning thinking, wait, there was a head of a sunflower on there. There was an actual flower there, but now it's gone. I'm sure a squirrel. And these two grow bags are what I'm going to put the zucchini plants in when I put them out today. So I'll amend the soil in these a little bit with some compost, and then I will plant those zucchini starts in there. It's harder for me to keep up with watering these things because there is no irrigation over here. There's nothing, no drip tape hooked up in here. So I have to physically come in and hand water these things along the outside, and that's not great. They don't get as much water that way because typically I'm just hooking up the sprinkler in the, you know, when there's tomatoes and things in here, I don't put the sprinkler on because I don't want the leaves to get wet. But I do the drip, which I have the drip tape running throughout this bed in here. Well, most of these beds that are all connected. So the drip tape is all throughout there. However, the drip is not on the perimeter of things because the beds are kind of sporadic. So I don't have.
I'm just piling up all of these corn
so plants they get less water
to take over into the chicken run area and toss it into them. It serves sort of two purposes. First of all, they can get bugs and food and things off of the actual plants themselves and the soil that's at the bottom of them, but also it's sort of some enrichment for them. Now, our chickens are free-range chickens, so while we have a chicken run for them, we do let them out of the run for the better portion of the day. I usually go out around 10 a.m. each morning and let them out. So they are free-range for the most part of the day. And but they still like to pick at things and get food off of things, and they definitely love vegetable plants. And now I'm starting on pulling out these pink eye purple whole peas. As I said, I thought these were going to be a really good variety for us here in the Deep South, and they are growing well, but they just have so many pests on them at this point. And very shortly here, you're going to see me discover that there are ants on these, which start biting my hands. Let me show you the ants in here, which are in my hands. Crap. Yeah, I pulled this plant up. Look at the ants. Yep, they are everywhere. That's why I'm throwing those plants onto a box because I can't even touch them because of the ants. So what I'm gonna put in here, I've got some diatomaceous earth that I'm gonna throw on these guys real quick. All right, so as I said, I'm gonna put some of this diatomaceous earth down. You can use lots of things to kill ants, but this is my vegetable garden after all, and I don't want to put a bunch of chemicals into here. Just clip up a bunch of chemicals that are going to get into my food. Well, this is the point in the day when a smarter person might put on some garden gloves and continue pulling these, but I guess I like to be tortured by fire ants, and I just took my chances here. I don't love to wear garden gloves either because I feel like you have a lot less dexterity when you wear those gloves, so I'm just going at it. Okay, this pepper plant here. So let's cut this back a little bit and get some of the bulk off of it and see how it does then. You see here, there's just branch after branch after branch here. I'm gonna go down to the base of it and I'm gonna cut some of these off. Now this you could root as another plant by just putting it into some water and letting it root out. I'm going to clean this up at the base, cut off a lot of these
really needs to be buried in more soil. That could be a problem too. A lot of the soil has washed away from it.
I went back and looked over what I had planted out this year, and this is actually a Sugar Rush peach pepper. My friend Mike grew this from a seedling, and I put it in a little bit later in the season than the rest of my plants, like my tomatoes and everything, so maybe it's just taken a little bit longer to get going, and also it really does need a little additional nutrition for it.
This one, you can see a little bit better if we come down the side here, that we really cleaned up the base of these. This one too. But as I said, when I get my rake out, I'm going to rake some soil up around the bottom of this one because it's kind of gotten naked at the roots.
This plant here is kind of a bushy type of a pepper plant, and it's just like a small yellow cherry pepper. And I have harvested probably 10 to 15 of these already off of this little bush type plant, which I just put in to ferment. And hopefully I'm going to get another harvest off of these, which I'll add to that same jar to ferment those, and then eventually make a yellow hot sauce out of these peppers. This set of pepper plants, and some of these look okay. There's some jalapeno plants in here, Tabasco plants, an ornamental pepper plant in here that just kind of volunteered and grew on its own. And this plant here in the front, I believe, is another one of those Sugar Rush peach peppers. Again, this has not set a single fruit on it, and it barely has any blossoms on it either. But I'm hoping that cutting these peppers back and getting a lot of that leafy growth off of them is going to help them set some blossoms and then eventually some fruit.
Now I have removed the irrigation, the drip tape, out of these last two rows here. They don't look much like rows at this point, but there's nothing in there. So what I'm going to do is take the sifted compost. That's all what this is right here. It looks pretty good. This is all the stuff that I dug out of the compost pile. The top's a little dry because it's been sitting a couple days, but I sifted it through my wire grate, and it looks pretty nice at this point. So I'm going to put all of that into this long garden bed here. I'm going to use most of the wheelbarrow on the big long garden bed there, but I first don't want to forget to add a couple of scoops to each of those grow bags that I'm planning to put this in.
So sadly, it is too hot for us right now to be planting out much at this point in the year. A lot of things we're just trying to keep alive, of course, because of these hot temperatures. But it's a good time either way to be adding compost to the garden beds. So I'm just kind of working a little at a time. You see, I'm only doing these 2 rows today because they're basically empty at this point. And then eventually I'll go through and sift the rest of the compost that's in the heap over there. And I'll have plenty of compost to amend all the rest of the garden beds as well. So it's a nice time of the year to just be able to put this compost in and let it sit for a little while. Before I do plant some things out in the fall, hopefully some of those seedlings that you saw in the beginning, before I do plant anything out, I'll go through and sort of till and work that compost into the soil.
You can see I have added in that compost to this last 2 rows here. It looks nice. I'm just going to water it in quick, that way some of that can start to, some of those nutrients can start to come out and feed the soil. Also topped this bed over here and those 2 grow bags. As I said, I'm going to put the zucchini in them. That was a nice amount. And then I've got plenty of compost left in the bin. I just need to sift it, which I will do on another day because that area is already in the hot sun over there. I'm on to my last task of the day. I'm trying to move my little stool here. My last task of the day, I brought down from the deck up there those, I brought down from the deck up there the zucchini seedlings and the cucumber seedlings. I'm gonna plant them both in these 2 grow bags here. I got Alan to move the grow bags over here closer to this fence. You can see them there. I had put that compost in there as well. It's about 12:15 at this point, and I'm just about to getting too hot point of the day, and also the sun is coming full onto the garden, so I'm trying to work until that point, and then I will be done and go inside and do some things in there. So anyway, I'm going to get these zucchini and cucumbers planted out, and we will just let them, the cucumbers can just trellis right up. I'm having to click on you. The cucumbers can just trellis right up the wire fence here, the chicken fence. So yeah, let's get that going really fast, and then we'll be done out here in the garden. Okay, so I added that compost in here. What I'm gonna add in the hole for each one of these plants, this one is gonna be the cucumbers. I'm gonna put them just like this, and this one would be the zucchini, but I'm gonna add in, this is worm castings. A friend of ours at the farmer's market sells these amazing worm castings, and they're super nutritious for your plants. So I'm gonna put that in the planting hole as well, in the bottom, and that'll just add some extra nutrition.
Okay, happily we have gotten most of the work done that I wanted to accomplish today out here in the garden. So the little zucchini are planted as well as the little cucumbers, and may they grow very well. I'm hoping that we have good success with them. I had to go inside shortly after this and cool down for quite a while. Got a little bit of work done in the kitchen as well, and then finally later in the day was able to come back out and take a few minutes to walk around with the dogs and visit with the chickens as well. So thank you so much for being here today and watching this video. I hope you enjoyed spending a little time together in the garden as well. And I wanted to show you a few clips of the chickens, ducks, geese, and turkeys here at the end. I really appreciate you watching the video, and I hope that you'll give it a like and consider subscribing to see all of my future videos. Thanks again for being here, and I'll see you again real soon.